Welcome everybody to the August 2022 meeting of the PR Masters. My name is Matthew Douglas and I am the president. This evening we have a fun meeting planned. We're going to be doing some retrospective, looking back and looking forward, doing some planning as well. I would like to begin by recognizing our Toastmaster for the evening.
Well, I guess that's me.
Mr. Bob Hall.
My first order of business is to introduce the timer. Carissa, are you still with us? Yeah, there you are. Top left, get your hand raised, ready to show the lights. Tell us what you're going to be timing today, what the time requirements are, what we have to look out for. If you wouldn't mind, please.
Of course. Good evening or good morning, depending where you are. It is morning over here for me, tuning in from Taiwan. As timer, indeed, I have my hand raised, so I'm stuck in everybody's top corner to make me more visible because I am here to help keep the meeting on track. I do that by showing my timing cards. Today, I believe we have several sort of mini speeches expected to be 3 to 5 minutes long. So I would show the green at 3, yellow at 4, and red at 5. So those speakers know where they are in terms of timing. When called upon, of course, I'll give timer reports and updates. And for table topics, according to Bob and Bill, who are our leaders, I can either give the overall timing, which Bill has requested, and Bob, I can either give the overall timing or time individual speakers, whatever you prefer. Thanks. Back to the Toastmaster.
Thank you. Now, do we have a group feedback leader today, or we're just going to skip the individual things? It'll be a collective thing at the very end, right? We'll talk about at the end of all 3 speakers, then we'll collectively come together. We've got a small group here, so we'll just, yes, if we had 20 people on the call, it would be a little bit different. But with just a small core group, we'll go with a collective discussion after all 3 have spoken. Excellent, great. So let me just kind of tee this up a little bit. You all saw the flyer that I put out, like a trekking motif, right? I'm going to call this, the theme of this thing, PR trekking. The pictures of a guy crossing this bridge. And I take my dog when I go out on walks too, and cross over bridges into the unknown. So I relate to what that dog said. I know exactly what he's talking about. What else comes to mind when you think of the word trek? You know, just Star Trek, right? I mean, that's just came to my mind. Star Trek. I get serious here for a second. Her son said, her light, like the ancient galaxies, now being seen for the first time, will remain for us to enjoy, learn from, and draw inspiration for a long time. President Biden said, our nation has lost a trailblazer of stage and screen who redefined what is possible for Black Americans and women. Who am I talking about? Nichelle Nichols, 89 years of age, passed away very recently. Lieutenant Uhura. Right. Star Trek fired the imagination of generations and future generations. Thanks to Lieutenant Uhura. It spawned many, many movies, sequels, and spin-offs. Songs have been written about it, and spoofs. I'm going to share with you something that came to my mind. Did I do this wrong? I did this wrong. Stop share. I'm going to do share again. Yep, it's optimized. Excellent. Bear with me for 1 minute here.
Trekking across the universe. On the Starship Enterprise, on the Captain Kirk. Star trekking across the universe. Only going forward, 'cause we can't find reverse. There's Klingons on the starboard bow, starboard bow, starboard bow. There's Klingons on the starboard bow, Jim.
It's life, Jim, but not as we know it, not as we know it, not as we know it. It's life, Jim, but not as we know it, not as we know it, Captain.
There's Klingons on the starboard bow, starboard bow, starboard bow. There's Klingons on the starboard bow, Jim.
Stop. There you go. And I lost the crew. There you are. Like I said, spin-offs and spoofs have been written about it. So where are we going with this? Well, first of all, thanks for the memories, Lieutenant Uhura. You've created a genre here out of Star Trek. So let's get down to business. We're going to be PR trekking across the universe with PR masters. Okay? We've got a 5-year mission. What are we going to do in the next 5 years? Just think big here. The universe is at our fingertips. Space, the final frontier. The voyages of the Starship Enterprise 5-year mission to explore strange new worlds, seek out new life, new civilizations, to boldly go where no man or woman has ever gone before. That's where we're going to go today. And we're going to hear from some of our experienced speakers who started this club with the vision of where PR trekking is going to go into the future. They're going to share those thoughts with us today. And at this point, I think I'd like to introduce our second Toastmaster, Bill Maher, who will introduce our speakers.
Oh, thank you very much, Paul. I will try and keep my mute on if my dog's barking again. I apologize for that. We do have 3 prepared speeches for this evening, and I always appreciate those. And that's kind of the crown jewel of Toastmasters. People expect that. Maren will be our first speaker of the evening. Matthew will be our second, and Jill Bell will be our third. And as mentioned, it's the retrospective, looking back, looking ahead. And I enjoy doing this. Not a lot, but on occasion. And for us, this is a good occasion to do it. And it's really good for me because as a high school teacher, this is sort of my practice retirement summertime. And now that I'm in August, I really am starting to gear up for the year ahead. And so I have a big picture view of what I hope to accomplish and hope to experience in the year ahead. And to do that, I need to look back. And so I'm looking forward to this people that will be sharing from their perspectives in these next couple of speeches so that we can kind of orient ourselves and look at what's working, look at what's not working, and look at what we can do to have the work be better in the year ahead. Our first speaker is Maren, PR Masters Highlights. Maren is also a member of the club that I am a member of, and that's New Horizons. And it is a fairly well-known club. And so I've heard her speak many times. And Maren and I have worked on different projects in the past. And one of the things that I appreciate about Maren is her ability to get the big picture, and in the big picture, know how to address details. I'm looking forward to her perspective on PR Masters and Highlights. Maren Ziba, speaker number 1.
Thank you, Bill. Yeah, highlights from this last year. And it's funny to think of it in just 1 year, because really I did the VPPR role and work for a year and a half. because PR Masters is a new club and there's been fits and starts and moving along. But I had a lot of fun thinking about what would I talk about tonight and what would I highlight and what did I most enjoy? Because really sometimes we have to look back on like what was the best in order to replicate that over what, you know, might be irritating us or things that just didn't quite go as planned. And I've learned a lot. I learn a lot when I hear things from other people, because I know myself. So when I look back on the year and I think about that trek that we've been on, I think about highlights. So one of my highlights from the year was, I'll actually start with Bill because he presented me. Bill talking about his school website. I would never have known anything about Bill's school website that he does for students. And he shared a little piece of his work world with us. It wasn't necessarily fully Toastmasters. It was his work world, and he was telling us about how he engages his students in learning about websites. And I know very little about websites, giving me little tidbits of information that could be helpful in the future as I navigate websites and things like that. I also think of Joe and his above the fold and below the fold newspaper and like how important that used to be. And now I think about all of our Facebook posts, above the fold, below the fold. What do you have to click to read more information below the fold? But then I think about details, and I think about how much Carissa concentrates on above the fold. And if Carissa can get everything above the fold, she will. But I tend to be a little more verbose, and there's more below the fold. So I love all the editing that I've seen across collaboration that we have behind the scenes in our club, where there's fine tuning and shortening and, oh gosh, that was a better way to say that. And that is just so helpful. Those collaborative moments when we are talking to each other, and it could be about my home club, New Horizons, and boy, am I good at plugging our meeting in this meeting, or about how we're doing in PR Masters or an upcoming district event, how we can promote our district too. The other things that I've enjoyed, Matthew did a speech about how important it is to market to our own members. So it's not just outreach. There's also the care and maintenance of our members. And to me, that's key to having Maria in our club. Maria, who was our surprise joinee of January, I think, who does an amazing job of thank you notes, celebrating her members' birthdays, a number of personal things that she does for her members to make them feel special. And so much about PR is how are we making people feel, and are they being seen? What are some other elements of being in PR Masters that's fantastic? If you're doing PR for your clubs, other people notice because they're doing the work too. So Juanita is coming in right now, and she's not a club member. She has been a VPPR. And it really helps to have someone else who will like your posts, who says, I see that work you did. Because one of the hardest things of being a VPPR or working on promotion is having the recognition that there's a lot of work behind it, and then having people react and understanding that that support system and that team system that you build is actually pushing the algorithm behind all the marketing. I laugh because I start recognizing more people. I start recognizing people beyond my home club, across the district, and across into other states, like Sandra. Sandra actually spoke at TLI this year and did a great job of talking about marketing to people other than Toastmasters. So our marketing, speaking to people who we draw into Toastmasters, and maybe we adjust how we use the branding a little bit so that we're drawing in people who have no idea what Toastmasters is in order to bring them in. And Sandra did a great job of that in her talk. We're lucky in PR Masters, we're marketing to Toastmasters. So it's Toastmasters marketing. There's lots of fun relationships built over time. Jennifer Schmidt, she does an article for Voices every month. And that alignment with Phyllis Harmon and into District 7, and knowing that you can actually put an advertisement into voices is something that you can learn in PR Masters. And Jennifer has this commitment of doing an article every month. That's an incredible commitment. And it's really fun to watch her do that every year or every month, and then see how she changes it up. I'm at the red, but I'm so glad Jill's speaking soon, because it's fun to see Jill growing her new club, or her club, in Corvallis, Oregon. Thank you, Carissa, for the timing.
Thank you, Maren. Let's take a minute or so to jot down some thoughts of evaluations and feedback from Maren. I'm going to give you some options. You can put them in the chat specifically to Maren or to everyone, or you can write them on the side and just kind of keep them there as the meeting goes on, because we'll have opportunity to share those thoughts again as we get towards the end of our meeting. Let's take 1 minute and jot down some feedback related to Maren's speech.
Daniel, in case you're wondering why there is radio silence, we are in the feedback phase for Maren, just FYI.
Okay, last chance to jot down some final thoughts before we get to our second speaker. Welcome, Dan. See you this evening. Our second speaker this evening is Matthew Douglas, the president of our club. And when I think of Matthew, I think of the phrase, if you want to get something done, ask a busy person to do it. I think of Matthew and I think of a guy who is very busy with career and family and Toastmasters. And I don't want to go down the list. It's going to take too long. But yet he's able to step up to the plate and do everything very well. I've seen him in a couple of other club meetings and here and there, and I've always appreciated his insights, his ability to speak, the way that he really does kind of raise the bar for all of us to be prepared, or at least look prepared as we come and speak to a group. Matthew is going to also provide us some PR Masters highlights and perspective. Matthew, please give us your speech.
Thank you very much. I'm going to frame up my retrospective in a very agile way. In agile project management, we look at different ways that we could do things. And in particular, I'm not going to do a full agile because I don't have enough time, but I'm going to look at things that I want to do more of, things I want to do less of, and things we should start doing. First, things we should do more of. I think that one of the things that has set PR Masters apart is our digital transformation. This club has done an incredible job of being digital forward as an online only club, whether it's Maren's ads for LinkedIn, for Facebook, tagging people, inviting social commentary and inclusion, whether it's Jennifer Schmidt's articles that have been about our club and inviting people to think about the different topics that are either on her mind or that have been covered in this club. And Fred's push for photography, for us getting images, which have appeared universally throughout all of our marketing and PR, and have done a remarkable job of bringing in interested people to PR Masters. I'd also like to see us do more of meeting transformation. The club has been pretty progressive about tackling new ideas, whether it's Mentimeter for feedback, show us your page, Carissa always having agendas for us to know where things are in time and space, which are incredibly helpful for folks joining a meeting, or even segments that have really pushed the envelope, like Dear PR Masters, which Jennifer Schmidt brought to our club. All of these have been really incredible, and I would like to see us do more of them. Things I would like to see us do a little less of. I would like to see us do a little less of planning our meetings as though each one is a mini conference. They require a lot of pre-planning, and they rely on a few key drivers to keep getting things in motion. And instead, I'd really like to see us involve more of our community of people who are interested in PR. Knowing that we have a monthly meeting, we also have another monthly meeting. It's a planning meeting, and it would be great to see just as many people that can show up. There aren't the same speeches, but there are chances for us to talk about things that matter to us. I'd like to see us do a little less of taking for granted the power of online and instead continue to reach out to one another. It's been my experience as a remote worker, as a remote member of a Toastmasters community, that it's rife for miscommunication, for not understanding one another, for saying the wrong thing. And it's important to us as human beings, and it's important to us as Toastmasters to connect and make sure that we're meeting each other where we need to be. I had a really interesting discussion with a fellow Toastmaster of mine in another club that I belong to, and he was talking about the ritual of going to a club meeting. The idea that you would have time, maybe in a car or on a commute, to put away whatever had been going on and to get ready for a Toastmaster meeting. And dang it, if that can't be a little difficult when it's one click away. So you move from one task to the other task and then into Toastmasters. Or even these dang things, our phones, right? They're always there. The third area is things to start doing. I'd like to see us start thinking about how we make the club a little more accessible to people, because we're always trying new things and people are often coming to us as Toastmasters. They're expecting a pretty standard meeting and they don't always know how to plug in. We've lost some people because of that, because they don't know what to expect. I think we need to figure out as a club how we make the new and the novel also predictable. And the other thing related to that would just be benchmarking ourselves against some other monthly clubs, figuring out what works and what we could learn from them. In summary, I think there's plenty to do more of. We've definitely identified some things that we should let go of in the coming year. And there are certainly some opportunities for us to start doing some new things together. And I am incredibly grateful to all of you and to this club for inspiring Toastmasters clubs, large and small, to get better at PR. Thanks.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you very much. Some really great insights there. And I really appreciated the 360 degrees, I'll call it, looking at where we're at and where we need to go. Let's take a minute to write down some ideas. You can put them in the chat, or you can just jot them down and share them a little bit later in our meeting. Let's take 1 minute to do that. Okay. There's a minute. Got down the last couple of thoughts if you still have them in your head and getting them through your fingers. We have a third speaker that I really don't know very well. And I don't think many of us do because Jill is new to the club and apparently involved in a new club in Corvallis. So there's a lot of new things going on, and she's helping us see our club from that new perspective. And that is really kind of intriguing for me because I always enjoy hearing other people's perceptions and perspectives and feelings. And in that sense, Jill, I have no idea what you're going to share with us. So take it away and share what's on your mind.
Thank you. Earlier this year, I became aware of PR Masters while attending a District 7 Tech Tuesday training on how to use Canva. At the time, I was actually working on a level 4 project to develop and grow social media for my home club, which is the Corvallis Evening Group. And that training seemed like a great opportunity for me to learn more about how other Toastmaster clubs actually use Canva. During the training, Maren messaged me and invited me to a PR Masters meeting. Way to go, Maren, on the power of the ask, because it worked, and I decided to attend the next PR Masters meeting. As someone who is, I consider myself self-taught with a background in social media for all volunteer nonprofit organizations, I was actually excited to attend a meeting of a club that was solely focused on PR. After my first meeting, I decided to join. And I am here today before you guys as a very enthusiastic new member. From my first meeting and each meeting since, I have actually found myself taking notes. I was taking notes while Maren and Matthew were talking. Each meeting has presented what I consider timely, relevant, and insightful topics that have actually spurred me to take action for my home club. And I would like to share with you 4 different things that I have done since attending my first PR Masters meeting in April. First, I'm going to say strategic social media platforms. With so many social media platforms out there these days, I needed to really be strategic about which ones I was focusing on for my home club, where I was going to put my time and energy. I'm familiar with Facebook and Instagram and appreciate those platforms because you can schedule content out and at the same time to both platforms. But based on the platforms I saw PR Masters using, I actually decided to go ahead and add LinkedIn to my arsenal for the Corvallis Evening Group. As a professional leadership organization, it seemed logical to go ahead and add LinkedIn in addition to Facebook and Instagram. So second, I'm going to call thoughtful content generation. I have, and this came from one-on-ones actually with Marcy. I had a couple one-on-ones with her when I was getting started, in addition to some of the show me your page segments during meetings. I've honestly never really put much thought into what strategic and thoughtful content looks like and the importance of cohesive branding and consistency in messaging before. So from what I've learned, I went ahead and developed 2 different social media templates for my club. One is focused more on general information, and the other one is focused on inspirational quotes. From there, I've actually been alternating those 2 templates, trying to do a grid pattern on Instagram. Again, something I learned from Marcy when I had done some one-on-ones with her. The other thing I've actually been working on for thoughtful content is developing a template for member spotlights. I'm collecting information from our members, and I'm going to do monthly member spotlights, and I'm working on getting those scheduled and up as we speak. And I'm going to do one a month and through the end of our calendar year. And I'm excited to share those personal stories because I've also learned that personal stories is what drives engagement on social media. Okay, third item, guest packets and thank you letters. After one of the speeches a few meetings ago, and I apologize, I don't remember who it was about the importance of the thank you and the follow-up with guests after they've attended a meeting. So I decided to take action, and I did 2 things along these lines. First, I asked our club if we could actually start collecting email addresses in addition to member or guest names and phone numbers we weren't actually taking down email addresses. So I intend on starting to send out thank you emails to new guests or to guests who have joined our meetings. The second thing I did was put together a welcome guest packet, which is a letter that I had generated from me, a little bit of information about our club, and then it also includes information on our officers and their contact info. I've stapled to that some general Toastmaster information and a membership form, and I have all that stuff ready to go in the tote in our club's meeting room. Okay, fourth, from Maren's speech the other day about automation and Eventbrite. I did go ahead and set up a Facebook event for our meetings through the end of the year. That reoccurring event in Facebook, that feature is great to be able to do that. And I also ventured into Eventbrite for the first time. I've never used Eventbrite before, but I did go ahead and get our meetings set up in there. And so far, we haven't had any guests actually attend, but we did have somebody purchase tickets, the free tickets, and has been in communication with us about attending a meeting. And so to me, that was a huge win, even that one contact that was made from that. So I'm excited about those 4 items that I have learned and actually been engaged with what I'm learning as I'm taking notes and moving on with ideas for my club. So as you can tell, I have actually taken a lot away in a short period of time. I come to Toastmaster meetings for personal development and growth by taking on roles and giving speeches. But in PR Masters, I'm finding that I am learning so much insightful content that is shared by this group of amazing professionals. And finding and joining PR Masters when I did was actually timely because I ended up taking on the role of VP of PR for the Corvallis Evening Group for the 2022-23 calendar year. I'm eager to continue to put into action what I'm learning here in PR Masters to help my home club grow. We are small but mighty, and we've been around for a long time, actually. The club, I think, 1946, maybe it's been around for a while. Small but mighty, just hasn't had a lot of action. So for me, the potential for growing my home club through strategic and consistent messaging is what's exciting me for the next year. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jill. That was wonderful. Don't worry about the red too much. You just had some wonderful, wonderful things to share. Let's go ahead and take another minute to write down some thoughts. And if you want to share them right away with Jill, you can, or want to hold them on for later in the meeting, that works well. Wait a second. Let's see. Okay, let's do that. And go. Here we go. Now we can say that. Okay, the minute is up. Thank you very much, everybody. At this point, we're going to ask our timer, who has been absolutely radiant tonight with the colors. Sorry, Chris, I just had to say that. Where it's always kind of tricky when you're in a new location and it has to be the timer and try to figure out how to do the signal of the colors because we want it to come through clearly, and it is working. It's not working as you would like it to work, but it's working very well. Could you give us an update on how our timing is going so far?
Of course, Bill. Maren's speech segment was 5 minutes, 45 seconds. Matthew's was 5 minutes, 59 seconds. And Jill's was 6 minutes, 34 seconds.
Excellent, thank you. And for 5 to 7 minute speeches, that's wonderful. At this point, we're going to talk about some updates, and I'm going to pass it over to Matthew to give us some updates on club business. Matthew.
Thank you very much. We have had officer training now. There continues to be officer training available, not only to our own officers, but if you're interested in officer training, there is makeup training that continues to be available for the remainder of summer, I guess I'll say. And it can be incredibly informative, especially since for most of us, slash all of us, PR Masters isn't our only club. Just knowing that it's available to your members can be a plus. The second thing that I wanted to share is that our club was able to hit a distinguished mark because of the work that we did collectively over the last year. And I wanted to seed the ask out there, which is if you are doing speeches in your other clubs and they don't necessarily need them, over the coming year, consider contributing those to this club so that we can help this club to meet its goals as well. The final thing that I want to share is in my speech, I talked about the planning process, and we have planning meetings that come up every month. They're a chance for us to get together and figure out what do we want to tackle. And I want to encourage everybody to put the date of the next meeting on your calendars. And if my math is correct, it would be Thursday, August the 18th. I hope that is correct. You can always check the website, but plunk it down on your calendar with a reminder and come join us. Help us to plan what we want to do for the rest of the calendar year as we try and lay out what topics are fascinating to us and how could we put together meetings that will be compelling and interesting to all of us. That concludes my remarks.
Well, thank you, Matthew. I think I'm supposed to take over at this point, right?
All
Okay,
yours.
great. Thanks, Bill.
Yes.
All right. So this is like a table topics section of the meeting. And I like to use this to reflect on what we've just heard and try to put some structure around this. What I heard was two buckets coming out of this, two big buckets. One is internal and one is external. From Jill, we heard external. This is what I took from this, and this is what I used and got out there. And from Matthew, I heard a lot of internal. How do we organize, because you're the club president, how do we organize this and make this more effective, more efficient? And how do we get more members to help us to do this so that one person doesn't have to do the whole thing? Everybody can share in this and share in the fruit of it. And then Maren kind of did a balanced look at those two. So what I'd like to do, and then Bill gave everybody an opportunity to reflect, to think about what each speaker had said and to provide them with some feedback. And I'm sure something stuck in your mind, some takeaway stuck in your mind. You said, look, I could do something about this. Because you came to this meeting to find out what you could do. Now is your time to look, to take this information internally and say, okay, it's now my turn to talk back to you about what I need and how we collectively can do this. All right. So I'm going to have like a two-parter to my questions. One will be something that I took some notes here, and we've got 11 people on the call. We've got 4 people who don't have any roles today, so I'm going to lean on you more heavily than on the folks who have been speaking to get some feedback. So it's going to be a two-parter. some of the main points that I saw as takeaways, but I also want you to say, okay, that's great, but what I got from it was X, Y, Z, and here's what I think you should do. So think about your response in two parts, okay? All right, so let's start off with point number one. How do we market to our own members? I heard that from Maren. Marketing to our own members. That's a big part of what the VPPR does. And Maren took that big bite of that last year. But as she said, you can't, it's not enough just to put a post out there. We can all take that message and spread it around. So my question is, as a member of the club, what do you think you could do, and how could you craft a message to everybody in the club? Give a speech on it, or volunteer for a role, a round robin type of a role, something like that. Think about how you could take this concept, marketing to all of our members and getting more engagement. I'm going to ask Sandra Savage. And then also your personal takeaway from all three speakers. Like, give us a nugget that you took away today.
Well, I'm going to start with the nugget, which is not only thanking our guests, but thanking our guest speakers. I think it's important to nurture them along and appreciate their contribution. We had a speaker at one of my clubs last week that went into the algorithms of Facebook and how you can promote and get more views by rising higher and higher in the pool of Facebook pages. So one of the things we're starting to do in I Belong to 4 Clubs is at the end of every meeting, we put the Facebook link to the ad that advertised that meeting and ask them to write what they got from that meeting. That accomplishes two things. We get higher up in the pool with the water, and we get testimonials that they wrote themselves. So that's been really, really effective for us. And we also ask all of our members in all of the clubs, when we put a posting out on Facebook, to please share onto your own feed and get the word out, especially in clubs where you may not want your best friend to join and listen to you make a fool of yourself in a speech, but somebody else you might know might want to join. And just, all the thumbs up and all the other vanity plates that you can get with your Facebook, all that type of stuff helps. So for a club, I think it's really important to understand the algorithms and also to know the associated pages that you may become buddies with as a result and be seen, like the official Toastmasters page and things like that. And then I went to the training a couple weeks ago for PR. And one of the things that I have been adverse to is the newsletter. It's like patting yourself on the back. And I got corrected. They said, that's what you send out to your guests, because they see how vibrant you are, that you're growing, that people are succeeding. And so that was really, really good information that I got from that event. Did I answer all your questions, Bob?
Almost. The icing on the cake would be, would you be willing, I don't want to put you on the spot here, in a future meeting, perhaps tentatively think about crafting that as a message to the entire club, and then we can tee it up and advertise it as, this is a speaker, or this is a section that we want to talk about and develop further. Would you be willing to take that on?
A speech that I'm developing for about 2 months down the road for my PR club.
Fantastic.
I'd be more than happy to practice on them and then come do it better for you.
Awesome.
And talk about ways that you can elevate your PR. And it's not just talking to your other PR friends in the Toastmaster world. It's also talking to the VPMs and VPEs, because you need to help them promote the club.
Thank you very much. Very much appreciated. I hope somebody is taking notes here on the agenda, future agenda. Madam Secretary? Okay, all right.
You have it
Next-
recorded, so.
Thank you very much. Okay, what else stuck out at me? Okay, let's go to an internal question here. Agenda development. This is something that Matthew touched on, and I think Maren touched on it. Just, and then we're also talking about doing that in these questions that were these follow-on questions. But there's a science to this. To develop this agenda and to put it out and to project it. There's some project management skills involved in doing this. There's some leadership skills in getting people, collaboration, reaching out one-to-one with people and talking to them one-to-one. This is a topic that we can expand on in the club with a message, agenda development. I can see that being a speech that somebody could give. Who else have we got in? I'm going to ask for a volunteer to take this one on. Developing an agenda, and this probably could be somebody who's already given the speech today, but this is something that's close to their heart. They know what needs to be done, and it's something that they can craft and bring to everybody's attention. I see Matthew's lips moving, but he's muted.
I'm just trying to understand the question. So you're asking about developing an agenda?
Right. Yeah, and that speaks to the issue of the planning meeting, getting people to come to the planning meeting.
Oh,
If we give
yeah.
a speech on that, not just like an offhand comment, hey, come to the planning meeting, but craft that into a message and put project management around it and put planning around it and
Sure.
forward thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that because our club only meets monthly, there's more at stake in each
Yes.
individual meeting. Also,
Right.
because this is going to end up on our Facebook page, it's going to end up on YouTube, it's going to end up being recorded and spoken about and shared in different ways.
Right.
Somebody's watching this right now or in the future, and they're like, oh, he's talking. So there's more at stake because of what it is that we cover. And in addition, we try and promote. Promoting means that you need to know what's being covered. And as Toastmasters with our own home clubs, very oftentimes they're even well-run clubs, well-attended, 25 members. We have meetings where somebody signed up for Toastmaster and then couldn't make it. We have meetings where there's only one speaker. We have meetings where there are no speakers and you ask for volunteers. It's way more difficult if you're trying to promote a week, 2 weeks ahead of time. And if you're asking people to create promotional materials about that.
It's a great point.
Right? We need to have content baked.
Yes.
It therefore is insufficient to 2-3 weeks from now talk about what we're going to put on the first Wednesday of September.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't work. So we have to get far enough out ahead to where we should, at this meeting, already have a pretty good idea of what it is that we want to cover or what will be covered in September. If we can get to that place as a club, it does a couple of things for us. One is it lets us promote right here, face to face, to the people who are most likely to come to the next meeting. That's kind of cool. Two, it helps us to be able to develop materials promotional materials according to somebody's schedule without having to be rushed at the last minute and shoved online.
Mhm.
So we can do ourselves a huge favor by doing that. But what it means is that we have to, as a group, not only ideate, but agree on the kinds and types of themes, speeches, questions that we have, enough to create those agendas in the first place. And the final piece that I'll add to this is simply that the same thing really goes for our home clubs as well, for a weekly club.
Mhm.
If you can get people to sign up ahead of time and have meetings mostly baked, it certainly makes it a lot easier. It's certainly way easier to say hello to and engage a guest if you're not trying to figure out who's going to take speaker one.
Mhm. Right. Great. So you got the essence here of a great speech, a great 10 to 12-minute speech with round robin type of feedback attached to it, and get some traction on this. So thank you very much for that. All right. What else did I see on my list of things here?
So while you're looking, I'll
Yeah.
just add, we talked about what we want our next club meeting to be about, which is the theme that we talked about was PR bloopers,
Right.
things that didn't work,
There you go. Yep.
failures that we had,
Your bloopers. Okay.
and a chance to share that. So I'll put that out there both as something to think about if anybody here has a great speech or an idea of a segment that they'd like to include, but also just to say we're starting to work on this.
Right. Okay. We need, if we're going to do that, we need to get the word out to everybody. Send me the VPPR, your bloopers, and I'll try to create some sort of a promotional thing for it. And we need speakers to talk about this. So okay, execution, right? Very good. All right. What else did we talk about here? Recognition of others. Oh, I see Juanita with her hand up. Okay, so I'm going to throw this question to you.
Actually, before I lose my train of thought,
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to give the suggestion,
Yes.
following up with Matthew talking about
Me
bloopers.
too.
I'm not volunteering to be a speaker, but it would be really beneficial because when you gave your blooper, if you can give a suggestion of a way that you think might have helped it to have worked out. So a lot of times hindsight is, so much better, that when I do things and they fall flat on their face, I think, if I'd only done it this other way, it might have worked. So if there's a way of incorporating that into presenting the bloopers that could be interesting and funny and something to certainly learn from, if there's a positive aspect of how it could have been twisted and turned in a slightly different way, then I would find that real helpful.
Okay. Thank you. I'm still going to ask you the next question. That is the recognition of others. I think Maren talked about recognition of others. She pointed out that we've got some members who are very good at doing this.
Yes, I would love to speak to that. I think that is so critical. And I just happen to come in at a time. I'm sorry for coming in late. I had dinner guests, but I thought, I don't want to miss if I can catch a little bit of it. So thank you for letting me join in late. And as soon as I did, Maren was so gracious to find a way to integrate me into what she was saying as kind of a way to welcome me. So thank you very much for doing that. And I do find that most of us respond really well when we're recognized that we've made an effort to do something. It's, just that little pat on the back that makes us feel recognized that somebody's noticed something that we've done, especially if we work really hard at it. it's nice to have it acknowledged, and it kind of spurs us on and encourages us to feel like, okay, I'm making a difference, and I will go ahead and spend the energy to continue on doing something that I'm doing or to try something new. So I think that that's really important for us to do. And I love also that Jill thinks it's important to send thank you notes. Just acknowledging our guests coming, I think, is really important to say, hey, it was really great for you to take time to come and to be with us. We look forward to spending time with you again. And that's really welcoming. So thank you both for those acknowledgements.
Yeah, I would certainly echo that. I've gotten lots of kudos and feedback from Maren as I've been putting out these VPPR things, thumbs up, piggybacking what I've done. And it's really a boost. If you try to do this and fly solo and it goes into the void and did anybody read this thing? It's very important to recognize if somebody posts something publicly, jump in there and like it or make a comment.
And
it's not hard to do.
A quick heads up too for the algorithm. It's really important to not do a thumbs up. If you do anything that's more than a thumbs up is just so routine of like. It's so common. It doesn't register as much as if you think about that it's funny or that you love it or that makes you sad, or if you comment. So anything that's more than a like, you actually get a higher algorithm.
That's a great point. This is what we need to hear in a speech, bringing all this stuff together so that we've got it all in one place. Okay, yeah.
I'm laughing, Bob, because I think that Marcy has said that a number of times. So I really love it when I've heard a tip from another member, and then I hear the tip coming back around to us through like Juanita. And now I'm like, Juanita, at some point this year, maybe you're going to do this speech on the value of doing more than a thumbs up and like writing a comment that's more than 3 words. I could see that happening.
You can write a speech on that. I'm telling you. More than a like. Okay. You can go 5 to 7 minutes on more than a like. That would be awesome. Okay.
Well,
Yep.
And the other thing I heard was the importance of engagement and that conversation. And I know that's something a lot of us have emphasized, and in particular, Marcy has emphasized. And so because I tend to be home club focused, like how can this club help home clubs, right? I actually think there's an important element that social media plays in having a conversation between meetings. And that's the reason I tend to talk about the follow-up post being so important, and even how you write that. But it will depend on how much time you have each week, how much you can put into that. So that's my little comment on conversation.
So we've heard from Juanita and Sandra. Dan, you came in the middle of this. How much did you hear? Who did you speech did you come into the middle of? You're still on mute. Oh, you're still on mute. Still can't hear you. I'm not hearing it.
Hey, Bob, just a time check. We're at 8 o'clock.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
There we go.
It's all great. My problem is right now, I'm going through some volunteer burnout right now. And I'm afraid to open my mouth for fear that I will be added to my list of things I need to do. I have 2 clubs I'm concerned about right now. One of them I'm trying to keep afloat, and the other one is turned into a runaway train that I can't control. And so we chartered 2 months ago my Notary Masters, and we are now already at 33 members. And I can't rein everybody in because everybody's brand new. And so
what kind of help do you need?
I need to provide the support myself. It's an industry specific club. So a lot of it deals with the industry that we're in. The help, I mean, I'm going to be putting together some videos for pathways to try and get people to understand that program a little bit. I know that Dave Bones has some stuff, but
He does.
even it is at a too high a level for some of these people. The main concern they have there is marketing, but it's the different kind of marketing than marketing a club.
Okay.
And I am trying to provide that area of support to them. I'm doing a speech. I was going to volunteer a speech next week, the next meeting on, I mean, but it's a different kind of marketing. It's about the value of business cards. And it's something I've kind of learned a lot about, and I'm going to be delivering a presentation at the first meeting in September of Notary Masters, which happens to be the very same day. I could deliver it once in the morning and once in the evening to this club. Certainly, it doesn't fall into the purview of PR bloopers, though. Although I suppose it could, but it's not really. We're mostly seem to be dwelling upon online and digital marketing rather than the other kinds of marketing that are out there. The other club I have, Sunset Talkers, we started out great guns, but then COVID wiped us out, and everybody is now working hard and trying to catch up. And I don't know if this club survives. I think it's going to survive September. I don't know if it's going to survive March, but we need. It's not members from within Toastmasters. It's new people to Toastmasters. We need to go cultivate some people out there. But I feel like any suggestions I might have might get me volunteered.
Sandra just posted something in the chat about a guide that she's created.
Okay.
Reach out to
Okay.
Sandra to see if that helps you.
Dan?
What I'm hearing is you need stuff in small digestible chunks.
Yeah, call out for help, because a lot of people, I've already invented the wheel. There's no reason for you to recreate it if you can find someone who knows the topic well. I'll put my email in here for anyone who wants to contact me.
Thank you, Sandra.
All right, thank
All
you.
right, with that, we're running up against the clock here. So, Bill, I've shortchanged you on your section. I'm so sorry.
I got to say, this is such a great discussion, and we're kind of chewing at the bit to kind of share some things. So I am going to give Maren the floor, because Maren, you look like you had something to put in. No, you're gonna pass. Okay, maybe
I was gonna be like the interim Toastmaster and be like, Bill.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. My initial plan for tonight, I don't know if it's going to fit or not, but I'm going to shift gears a little bit. I'm going to try it because you know what? I planned it, so let's go with it. And it's more of a personal thing. We've heard a lot tonight about looking back and where we're at, looking ahead, and it's all been very focused on Toastmasters and our involvement in Toastmasters, which is really important. I don't want to downplay that at all. But I want to kind of broaden it out a little bit as far as each of us to share some of our personal destinations, personal things that we are looking forward to and want to achieve this year, whether they are specific to Toastmasters or not, whether they fit in the mold of, can I do this as a speech kind of a thing? That's kind of irrelevant for the responses that I want. So I'm going to try to provide a, let's see, a Mentimeter opportunity for people to type in. Let's see if this works here. There's two questions that I have. And again, I don't use this very much, so I don't know how well it's going to work. One is, what is your destination or goal for the year? And the second one is, what is the challenge that you see as you look towards that goal for this year? And I'm going to, as you're thinking about that, go ahead and think about that. Go ahead and put that into Mentimeter. Somebody in the chat, let me know if it's not working, and come over to Plan B. But summers as a teacher, I look at it as practice retirement. And a lot of people want to know, what do you do in the summer? How's it going? Boy, how nice is that? And all this kind of stuff. And for me personally, for this particular experience, I've been at home and I've had a job, task, challenge, time spending activity. Uh-oh, yes.
I think you shared the view link and possibly not the link to the questions.
Okay. Oh, well. Maybe we can just put that in the chat then. I don't want to spend time figuring that one out. So, so in the chat, share a destination or goal that you have for the year and the challenge that you have in achieving that. So anyway, my job for the summer is painting the interior walls of our living area. And it's about 1,600 square feet, although I don't have to paint a bedroom or the kitchen. Now, painting is fine. I don't mind painting. It's the preparation to the painting, and it's the cleanup of the painting. Because when you're thinking about preparation, you know, choosing colors is important, and that takes time. And then you have to think about moving stuff, clearing the walls, cleaning the walls, spouting the walls, getting all the equipment, getting the time, getting everything prepared, keeping the dogs out of the paint. And then when you're actually done painting, which is actually the fun part, and I kind of see that as our meetings, and then you have to clean up. You know, you gotta figure out what to do with the clothes that you wore that you probably don't want anymore. At least you don't want them anymore after you got paint on them. And you've got to make sure that everything is clean and everything is where it's supposed to be and it's all taken care of. And I think about that when it comes to how I personally and how we are looking at our Toastmasters club experiences and participation. And Dan, I think you really hit on the head where you have kind of volunteer burnout. I'm kind of sensing that with a lot of people in the clubs that I'm involved in. One term is getting traction, you know, and some people were just feeling overwhelmed, and it's hard to kind of put your finger on it. But I think as I look to what the solution is, I like the idea of community. Now, part of community is the idea that we're all in this together, but yet we all have to step up. And we all have to think about, okay, what is my ability without overtaxing myself? What is my contribution without giving too much of myself away? And that is a difficult question to answer even from month to month, but it's something that needs to be asked and something that needs to be kind of addressed. This is an amazing club. And when I joined, it was partly to kind of spur myself on. So I'm looking to the club to kind of give me that push, to give me that incitement to do something that I know I should be doing, that I can do it. I'm not getting around to it. And I don't quite know why. So Jill, you gave me some really good energy tonight. And I appreciate that. Some really good ideas tonight, some really practical things that I can do, not only for my Toastmaster clubs, but for my classroom. What I do as a teacher is really important to do that. And so just kind of stepping up to the plate and saying, it's probably not enough, but it's what I can do. And speaking every once in a while, doing Toastmaster once in a while, going to those planning meetings once in a while, or even just sharing ideas with the leadership team as to what can possibly be done is part of the solution and part of the way. Bob, you talked about hiking the Pacific Crest Trail. Oh my gosh, talk about achievable goals. Oh my goodness. But that's really awesome. And thinking about steps to do that. I remember when I ran a marathon, trained to run a marathon. Obviously didn't wake up one morning and say, yeah, I think I'll run a marathon. It was over the course of about 3 years in training. And you can probably tell it's been a while since I've done that. But the preparation is so very, very important. And thinking about how to get from point A to point B and the steps that need to be done that. Plugging back into your church community and challenge, and it's a family, we all have our priorities, and thinking about how they kind of relate to those daily pressures that we have and the daily expectations that we have. The pathway, working on a pathway goal. That's something that's it's been a challenge for me, and maybe because I started with the legacy system and the pathways is just different, right? And just kind of stepping up to the plate and getting that done. Dan, about dealing with burnout. It just seems so much of a reality as we're coming out of this pandemic. And I don't know if because we are trying to get back to the life that we lived and keep what we enjoy about this virtual existence. And so it's in addition to rather than replacement of. And so our plates are pretty full and they're getting more full, and it's making some difficult decisions a lot of ways, and figuring out what to leave off the plate. Okay, and different family members that have different needs, always something that, and some of those are surprises that come up, and some of them are just things that we just kind of have to find that priority time for. Okay, some Maren, some good ideas there. Yeah. Does anybody have anything to share related to how well you deal with that pressure to participate, to contribute, to volunteer, whether it be for PR Masters or your home club or whatever it might be? Any suggestions about how you might deal with that effectively?
Turn 65 and retire.
Yeah, I'll be there soon, but I'm not going to be retired at 65. Maren.
Well, I'm laughing because sometimes there are things that don't have a timeline. And when I can accept that something hasn't happened within the timeline and that it won't matter because it'll eventually happen, then it's all good. So I have a goal of creating a mug for our last leadership team with the images of all the people on it. And Bill's laughing because he's helping me with this project, but he hasn't had time to do it. And for me, I'm like, you know what? They will appreciate this when it happens, and it's no big deal that it hasn't happened yet because over time it'll get done. And so to me, it's like, what's a now? What has to happen now? Is this that important? Bill's busy. Or is it like, let's back burner this. It's not a big deal. We'll get it done when we get it done.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah. Well, we're at time and we need to kind of move on with the rest of the meeting. So thank you very much for sharing your thoughts in chat and sharing where we're at. And it's reality. It's summer, it's supposed to be a time of kind of recharging, and hopefully we'll be able to do that. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and toss it back to Bob, and let's figure out how we want to do these evaluations of our speeches. Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay, so this is the wing it portion. we don't have an official evaluator for all of this, although in my section we did hear some evaluations from people. And Bill, you did tee up some evaluations, an opportunity for people to evaluate each individual speaker. So there has been an evaluation phase in this meeting. How do we take this to the next level? I heard a great suggestion. I think it was Sandra who said this. Go to the Facebook post after the meeting and put a comment in there about what you got out of this. So I think what I would challenge everybody to do as part of this evaluation is to do that. Take Sandra's advice. Listen to our members. Listen to what they're saying and act on that advice. And if you do that, then that meeting gets plugged. People who miss the meeting say, oh my gosh, I missed a good meeting here. I missed all of this good information. And then we can take that message, turn it around, and then say, make sure you come to the next meeting and you'll get all this good stuff. Because you're missing out on a lot of stuff when you miss these meetings. I think that's what we can do for the evaluation, okay?
Yeah.
Is to take it to Facebook, take it to LinkedIn, a couple of the other places we put it, comment there, and let's see if we can use that and actually, turn it into action. Take action based on what we've been talking about here today.
Yeah.
Bob, we do have a general evaluator too.
Right.
Yes, we do.
And we do have 14 minutes, so we could round robin this, as Dan's suggesting in the chat. So
yes.
I would say, Dan, what would you like to say as a reflection on the meeting?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm pretty tired right now, but I have to say, whenever I do evaluations, I always like to end with my takeaway. And so I'm going to cut to the chase and just go right instead of giving the evaluation and the feedback, because the speaker that I want to talk about is Matthew. And I'm just going to get right to the takeaway. You guys said Matthew is a guy we know. I don't know Matthew that well. We've become more acquainted recently because we've been presenting together in other meetings in the last year or so. I know him as the guy that I can't beat in a contest. I always finish one spot behind him. So I'm always in the picture, but I'm never in the middle. He always is in the middle of the picture. But he gave me three things here. He gave me what can I keep doing, what should we stop doing, and what should we start doing. I've got, again, both of my clubs are in completely divergent parts of the spectrum, and having a moment of truth for either club right now is problematic. I can't take up meeting time to do one for one meeting, and I don't have enough people to do one for the other meeting. But what I can do is I can sit down with my computer sometime while I'm watching whatever I'm watching to calm down. And I can write down how our club is doing, or what can we keep doing? What should we stop doing? And what should we start doing? And I think I love the framework, Matthew, and I feel like this is a no-brainer that's not going to cause a lot of effort. I think I can then present this to my club in a fairly non-aggressive and kind of a helpful way. And so I appreciated what I got from that. I enjoyed Jill's speech as well. I don't have a lot of specific feedback for you, unfortunately. It's just that it was engaging, and I missed the first speaker. So, but I think I know why I kept finishing second in those contests, man.
All right, does anybody else want to jump in for a quick evaluation or a takeaway? Before we get to Fred? Yes, Sandra.
I really appreciate the honesty that you all had tonight amongst each other. Just talking about what worked, what didn't work, what you'd like to try, and talk about bloopers. That's the kind of activity, to me, I find the most educational. So I really enjoyed that part tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. One last ask. Anybody want to jump in? Okay. Bob, if it's okay with you, we'll just go ahead to our general evaluator, but do you want to introduce Fred, or should I introduce Fred, or, you know,
Let
we could
me
both do it.
introduce Fred, our general evaluator, who will give us his opinion of how the meeting went and what went right, what went wrong, and what we should do about it. Take it away, Fred.
Thank you. Well, let me just say that this is the first meeting I've been to for PR Masters that I can recall that actually had 3 speakers. So that was the first thing I loved about this meeting. And the other part is how, whether it was planned or not, how all 3 speeches tied into our theme. And nothing says that you have to have your speeches with the theme, but they all definitely really related to the theme. I really like that. But one thing I wish is, because we had 3 speakers, is maybe have more time to do round robins, which would have been the thing to do, like maybe have one person pick one of the speakers and give like 1 or 2 minutes of feedback is really, and with Matthew talking, or whoever mentioned the PR bloopers, actually inspired me to do a speech for that meeting that I've already got in place. I just need to add a couple more things. And I think we're going to have some humor out of it, but it's not about me. And that's really my quick 2 cents for my general evaluation report. And it looks like I need to call on Teresa for the timers report. Did she time any of the round robins?
Hi there. Sure. Bob's segment took about 24 minutes total, and Bill's took about 9 minutes, 30 seconds.
That's what happens when you've got a DTM. Don't time me, you know. I ran into a problem with that in my club this week. I got the penguin, which is what you get after the red. 30 seconds after the red, you get the penguin.
I'm going to
And I
steal
got
that.
that, and
Bob.
I got scolded. So I haven't learned.
My general evaluator report, it's back to you.
Oh,
Back to you, Bob.
back to me. Well, you know what? Who's going to show up at the planning meeting 2 weeks from now? Let me see a show of hands. 1, 2.
Yeah, I'm not sure because I'm attending
Three.
the convention virtually, so I may be at the convention.
Oh, there's a convention going on, right? Is that the week of the convention?
Yes.
Oh my gee, I'm going to be at that too. Ooh, we got some serious competition. Oh, wow. I might not even be able to show up. Do we want to
Bob,
reschedule that or what?
I don't know that I'm thrown off at the moment.
Go ahead.
I don't know how to answer your question there, but I just wanted to address a different question.
Go ahead.
So, because I think that Sandra's asked something that is really important for specialty clubs. So we are a PR focused club, but we still try to align with like pathways goals. And so enough of us have done the DCP process to know that some of us actually will get more than one level in a year. And your home club can only get one level of credit from you. You can't get 2 level 1s. So if we have those people who are just robust speakers, they can then contribute those credits to our specialty club, which helps us achieve DCP. But it doesn't necessarily mean that DCP is like our ultimate goal, because it depends on the person that you talk to. Like for me, it's all about kind of getting our home clubs up to DCP. But if we can get some level, fantastic, or understand strategy behind the DCP. Does that help, Sandra?
Yeah, a lot of the specialty clubs I belong to don't have evaluation, so there's more time for discussion, round robins, and speeches rather than evaluations. And we save those speeches and give them in our clubs so that people who are learning and coming up in their communication skills get the advantage of the evaluation there, not in the specialty club.
I'm really glad to see you say that, Maren. I've been at part of many clubs who is not in their goals, their club's necessarily goals to get a DCP, and I think that's just fine. I think if they're working towards what they need to and following an agenda that's similar to what Toastmasters does, they may come anyway. You may end up having people get the D. It may just fall. Notary Masters is in by no means. It's not a goal of theirs at all. They're going to probably get the President's Associate, or President's Distinguished, only because hey, they're giving speeches and they're doing what they need to do. But we're not going to be having anybody with. It's just not what they're trying to get confidence. So when they're out on signings, they're not freaking out, and they're walking up somebody's house with a $500,000 loan in their bag and not just. I mean, they need to have confidence, and hopefully we're providing that. If they're getting that, then to me, they're solving the goal of the club, which may or may not. I don't know. It's blasphemous for me to say this. It may or may not include getting a DCP for the club.
So it's a good point. I challenge my club. We've gotten President's Distinguished 15 years in a row now, and starting in 2007, and I challenged my club to do it again, and just to get distinguished, remember the number 10. 10 DCP points, 9 or 10, we want 10. You give 10 speech. If everybody gives 10 speeches, we can do this. And if you remember the 10 tenets of the Toastmasters promise, And you follow that, attend all the meetings, fill the roles, invite people to the club. If you're asked to lead, jump in and lead. Positive energy, all of those 10 points, you follow those, you're going to succeed. Okay. All right. Well, we can call it early, 3 minutes early here. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. Give you 3 minutes of your life back. Matthew,
We still have a group photo, and I still have closing remarks as president.
Go
So
ahead.
we're not quite done.
No, I'm just going to turn it over to you. Okay.
You're gonna turn to me?
Yep.
All right, I'll take it. I would like everybody, if you are comfortable appearing in promotional or marketing materials, to keep your camera on. If you're not interested in that, that's also totally okay. Just turn your camera off. But we have somebody who can grab a photo for posterity.
Just a sec. I was all set and then I wasn't. Okay.
You want us to do anything special?
Well, it looks like Fred's on the thumbs up plan. I'm not certain. Now he's shifted it up to a
Anyone
heart.
who wants to Star Trek can Star Trek.
Oh, Star Trek. I think that was Lieutenant Uhura was where we started.
There you go.
Okay. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. All right. I didn't quite catch Carissa, so just one sec. Everyone hold. I can function. Oh, shoot. It's not. All right. I can fix it later. All right. 1, 2, 3. All right. Thank you, everyone.
All right.
The other thing that I wanted to share is just 2 brief planning things that I didn't cover off in the president section. The first one is we just talked about the conference happening. Our club can send our proxy along. So I just wanted to get a vote from members that that's okay for me to share our proxy. If so, I'll sign it. Great.
All right.
Seems like we've got that. And then the other one is just from a planning perspective. Our September meeting theme that we have planned is bloopers. If you have something that you want to share. We
We got one
obviously have
speaker.
Slack.
Fred volunteered already. We
Yep.
got one speaker.
Share ideas, share things that you'd like to do. And
I would be okay to do my business. I mean, we're doing business cards earlier in the day. I'd be fine to do it again here. It's not exactly PR, but it is in fact marketing, and there is value in the same thing. And I'm willing to. I mean, what the heck? It may as well get 2 for 1 here, right?
sure. Showing up and showing up wrong.
2 speakers. We're well on our way here.
And then the other thing is just thinking forward planning. The planning meeting that we have, it isn't to plan September, right? It's to plan Q4. So it's October, November, December.
Mhm.
So if you can't make it, that's also okay too, but we'd still love to have your ideas. So if you have a speech in mind that you'd like to give, or a theme, or something you'd like to learn about, these are all helpful pieces of input for us as we try and formulate the remainder of the year.
So
And obviously, we want the meetings to be meetings you're going to enjoy. So
may I ask a question?
please.
So may I invite members of my Notary Masters Club? They are not necessarily interested in PR, but everybody is an entrepreneur. I'm sure they are interested in marketing. And I think they will see value in it. So at the very least, if they get some ideas and just, who knows? I mean, I had no reason to feel I was ever going to care if I ever learned Canva, but I did, and we've used it twice now, and so it's like, okay, this works. So I picked, picked up
Toastmasters promise number 8. Who knows what that is? It's everybody's responsibility to bring in new members.
Well, I'm not looking to bring in new members. I'm looking to invite guests.
Or to
So,
invite guests or to bring people into the club to invite is everybody's responsibility, not just the VP of membership or the VP of PR, everybody's responsibility to do that.
thank
So
you.
thank you.
Anyway, yes, we love having guests, and PR marketing topics certainly are applicable to Toastmasters, but well beyond that. So with that, I'm going to conclude our meeting and our recording can stop. But thanks for stopping by.